In this video, we are going to be discussing the clustered column chart. We're going to be discussing the clustered column chart. But before we get into the video, before we get into the actual lesson of the clustered column chart, let me ask you a couple of things. One is learning the clustered column chart the only reason why you are not in Power BI? Is learning the clustered column chart the reason why you're not pursuing a career, pursuing an opportunity in Power BI? Or is it that you feel that Power BI is too technical for you, or you really don't know how technical it is? So, your thought process is, hey, I'm just not that technical guy. I'm just not that technical. Look, just because you're here, that lets me know that you are just that technical. I really wasn't that technical when I got into Power BI, when I started started the pursuit of becoming a Power BI developer. I wasn't that technical. I was doing the same thing you're doing right now, and that's going out and trying to figure out, what does it really take in order to become a good Power BI developer. I've said it before, I'll say it again. You do not have to be great in order to be a good Power BI developer. You just got to be willing to learn. And in this particular instance, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be learning how to create a clustered column chart. But at the end of the day, what I want you to understand is this: creating a clustered column chart, creating a table visual, creating a line chart, creating a pie chart, creating a tree map, whatever the case may be, it only takes time. It takes repetition in order to become a good Power BI developer, put yourself in position for those six-figure opportunities. So with that said, I want you to understand that, hey, I can do this. I can become a great, or not necessarily a great. You could become great, but again, as I said, you don't have to be a great developer in order to be good at Power BI. It's just a matter of putting the time in. But I want you to get rid of the belief that you don't have enough tech skills in order, or you're not tech savvy enough, or you're not techie. That's not the case. It doesn't have to be the case unless you make it the case. Sometimes, we even say, hey, I didn't go to college to become a computer scientist, a programmer, a developer, I didn't take Power BI in college. And that's okay as well. It's okay to pivot, right? It's okay to pivot. And for the majority of my students, pivoting is what it has been all about. It's been about, hey, I've been doing X profession for the past 10 or 15 years, maybe even 25 or 30 years even. And now I want to do something different. It could just be the matter of putting yourself in a different space, a different place, and actually doing something different. Or it could be a matter of, you really want to put yourself in position for a six-figure opportunity that you probably see as not being able to be reached according to the ceiling that you have hit within your different career paths. With that said, you're in the right spot, you're in the right place. You can learn a tech skill that can get you to where you need to be, whether it be just in a different space, a different place, or in a different position of financial independence and economics. Another good thing about Power BI is there's several different locations in which you can work. And I'm not talking about different continents of the world, different countries of the world, which all of those do come into play. What I'm talking about is whether you want to work remote, whether you want to work hybrid, or whether you want to work on site. All three of those locations are available when we're talking about creating Power BI reports, being Power BI developers. The thing is, it's a matter of where you want to do it and how do you want to do it. For instance, if you want to work on site, and the state that you want to work in, and the city you want to work in, it kind of limits you to where you can work, because you're only able to work on site in the city in which you are willing to do so. Whether you're willing to move there or whether you already live there, that limits that. When it comes to hybrid, it's pretty much the same. But you can kind of pull it off if you are hybrid. And you said, and the opportunity was, hey, you have to be on site a couple of days a week, 3 days a week or so, whatever the case may be. And the other 2 days you can work remote. Well, what does that mean? That means you can work somewhere else. You can live somewhere else. You can do some traveling while you're working remote. But when it comes to being in that on-site location, you've just got to, put yourself in a position to where you can get to that location and be on site as if you were never off-site when you were working anyway. That's a whole nother conversation. But when it comes to working remote, of course, that means that opens up a whole world of places that you can actually be working, living, and performing as a Power BI developer. And zip codes and zoning restrictions are not something that's going to restrict you. It's going to give you the ability to do what you want to do, how you want to do it, when you want to do it. Not necessarily work-wise, doing what you want to do, how you want to do it, but it puts you in a position to where if you want to live in LA and work in London, or live in New Zealand and work in New York, you can do so just because of those remote opportunities. And those remote opportunities are there. Now, with that said, before we get started, what I want you to do is like this video, subscribe to this channel. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, because that helps me understand what you are looking for and what you really have an appreciation for. With that said, we are going to move right on into creating the clustered column chart in Power BI. Now, the reason why we have clustered column charts in Power BI, a column chart is simply just a chart with columns in it. For those of us that were in 5th or 6th grade at some point in time, we created bar graphs and line graphs and column charts and stuff like that. And basically this is no different at this point. Rather than getting the grade to create the column chart, we are getting paid to create the column chart. The reason why I call it a cluster column chart is because it allows you to see the various differences and levels of what we are comparing. So as we see here, we are here on the report view. We're here on the report view of Power BI, and basically, just as we always do, when we go in to grab our visualizations, when we grab a visual, we go to the visualization pane, and we see in our visualizations that we have 1, 2, 3. I never really counted these. 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got 7, 28, 40. Let's do that again. Let's do it a different way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got 42 different visuals that we can place into a column and into a Power BI report using the custom visuals of Power BI. However, we can select the 3 dots down here, and we can select more. And when we select these 3 dots and we select more, it'll give us additional visuals that we are able to use that are third-party visuals, not visuals that are custom to Power BI from Microsoft, but visuals that are from Microsoft-approved vendors. And we are able to use additional visualizations. And in this course, we will be using some custom visuals while we're showing you how to create some of those custom visuals as well. But here today, what are we talking about? We are talking about the clustered column chart, and we can find the clustered column chart that is right here in the top row of our visualizations pane. So as we get started here, let's see. We are going to grab the clustered. Here we have the 100% stack column, but what we're looking for is the clustered column. So we'll move right on down, and as you see, we are going to select the visual that says clustered column chart. We just drag it over. Now, typically what I would do in creating a Power BI report, I would start with a table visual, but that's not what we're doing here. We're not creating a report. I'm only showing you how to create the clustered column visualization. So when we have the clustered column visualization, there are 2 axes that we're going to use when creating the clustered column. We're going to use the x-axis and the y-axis. And typically, when we're using a clustered column, rule of thumb, what I normally use, this is not going to be an always standard, but a rule of thumb is typically when you have a clustered column, you're probably going to be looking at date. We're going to be creating by date. So that's why I brought in the date into the date column into the x-axis. Of course, as I said before, we're going to be using 2 axes when we're talking about the clustered column. We're going to bring in the date axis, and we're going to bring in the y-axis. And in the y-axis, we use the age band. Now, as we look here in the DIM customer, we see we have age band, customer ID, customer key, gender, join date, loyalty, loyalty flyer, and segment. So what I'm doing here is I'm looking at each one of the columns, and what I do see here is that in the DIM customer table, as I look at each one of the columns, let's try to get my age band, I see is a text column. It's 45 to 54, 55 plus, 35 to 44. Basically, that is telling us the age range of our different customers. Then we have the customer ID, again, which is a text. Yes, customer ID is a text. And the reason why it's a text in this particular instance, doesn't have to be this way all the time, but in this particular instance, it has a mixture of text characters and numerical characters. When we have a mixture of text characters and numerical characters, that's going to 99.99% of the time indicate that we have a text data type. So our age band is a text data type. Our customer ID is a text data type. Our customer key, as we look over to the left, the customer key is all whole numbers. So those whole numbers means that the data type is a whole number data type. As we continue to go down, we see we have gender. And as we look at gender, gender is going to be a text data type as well, because we have M, U, and F, which I would believe F would be female, M would be male, and U would be undefined. Then we have the join data type, and if we click on join, we see that there's a calendar on the side, a calendar looking image on the side of join, on join date, which tells us that that is a calendar. So by that, well, not necessarily just a calendar, but it tells us that the data type is a data type. So we've got a mixture of different data types here in this particular visual that we're going to be creating. Then we have the loyalty tier. The loyalty tier is a text data type. And as we click it, we see that all of the loyalty tiers, which is silver, bronze, platinum, gold, and then none, all of those tiers, all of those return values are of text data type. Then we have the column that says segment, and within segment, what returns in segment is the core, premium, and value. Core, premium, and value. And of course, those are not numbers, those are all text. Those are text data type. Then we're going to come over, and here we are looking at the model view. We're just looking at the model view, seeing what is in the model view. Not necessarily making any changes in the model view. We just want to see, how this thing is, how the relationships are built. As we come back over, and we are now looking at the clustered column chart that we created, which again was super simple. The clustered column chart was super simple. Let me, let's see. Give me 1 second here. I want to bring in my second part of this report, and give me 1 second, 1 second. Let's see, we've got to minimize here. Then we are going to bring this over to here. Then I'm going to find my second part to this report, and I'm going to bring it into here and highlight. And here is our second part to this report. Make sure we're on the, yeah. Just want to make sure I got the right report in as we're going through here. And let's see. So we brought in the table as we did before. Just there's anything different here in what we're doing. We're still looking at the cluster column chart. I just created a second part to keep this. I just built this out in 2 parts so that it would keep this thing real simple and you really get an understanding of what it is. But what I really want to understand is that all we're really doing is dragging and dropping. We're coming back into our dim customer table. We're coming back into our dim customer table. We're bringing date back into the x-axis. We've got customer into the x-axis, and age band, again, we're counting the age band. So what does counting of the age band means? That simply means, again, as we said before, the age band is just the range of ages of our customers. We had customers that were, 35 to 54, 55 plus, and 35 to 54, 18 to 24, 25 to 34. And basically, we were just doing a count of how many customers we had within each one of those age ranges over a period of time. And that period of time could be by year, it could be by month. Here we are looking at the age band by month. I mean, not by month, I'm sorry. Here we're looking at the age band by year, by year. And we have, let's see, is that 2002? Let's see, age band by year, and we have, what date did we use? So we're looking at 2022 to 2025. 2022 to 2025 as far as the age of those customers. If you're interested in joining our free community, I encourage you to scan the QR code and join our free Power BI webinar. If you're interested in learning more about Power BI, you got some things you want to know, just having a community to be around is definitely a great place to be. We have a lot of information, a lot of insights, a lot of individuals that were just like you that are now movers and shakers in the Power BI community. I encourage you again to join our free community, scan the QR code, and join our free community. And we look forward to seeing you win next Thursday. Clicked the wrong button. My apologies. So again, what we were talking about earlier, we have customer ID. We see the customer ID, and then up at the top, we see the data type is a text data type. We click on customer key, and we see customer key is data type is a whole number data type. We come over to gender, and again, we see that gender is a text data type. Not necessarily just trying to, well, before I say that, data type here, we've got join date. And of course we have the calendar image on the side of date, the join date, and that means that is a date data type. Basically what we're getting here is an idea of the different types of data types. There's several other data types, but here we've got a pretty wide range. So I want to make sure that I gave you clarification on what those data types are. And when we have a data type, of a date data type, we can actually change the format of the date data type. Here we've got day of the week, we've got month, we've got year, but we want to change it just to date so that we can just get the month, day, and year. We changed it to a 2-digit day, a 2-digit month, and a 4-digit year. We have several different formats that we can change the date data type to, so just keep that in mind. Loyalty tier, again, is a text data type. Segment, again, is a text data type. And as we see, we have age band. Again, age band is a text data type, and we're looking at 18 to 24, 25 to 34, 35 to 54, 55 plus. Those are the different age ranges that we will be looking at when we talk of the age band. So basically, we're counting the age ranges within a certain period, and that period is going to be either by year, by month, by day, by week. We could even do it by hour if we really wanted to break it down, but that's not necessarily how we do it here in Power BI. But in some cases, we could have instances where we need to count segments or make counts by months by weeks, by days, and using certain DAX measures. We could do it by seconds. Now, I'll be honest, I've only had to break it down that much only one time in life. To that degree, that's normally not how we have to do it. But if we did, we could use measures. This particular measure here would be counting the measures. Here we're creating using variables to do so. This is a very complicated measure when it comes to Power BI. Most Power BI measures are not this complicated. So I don't want you to get scared, get spooked away, and say, hey, that's not something I'm trying to do. That's just creating a measure to that degree is, a little bit challenging. And, if you feel up for the challenge, I encourage you to, really push forward and, do what you feel is best to make you become the best Power BI developer possible. But again, at the end of the day, please understand that that's a very complicated measure when it comes to Power BI, and typically is not a measure that you're going to have to be using on a day-to-day basis. So again, we're looking at the clustered column chart down here at the bottom, and then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to bring in a slicer visual. A slicer is another visual that we can use in Power BI, and basically it allows us to slice what we're looking for by different entities, such as by year, by day, by month. So basically what we did is we brought in a slicer visual, and we say we want to count the age band at this point we want to count the age band by year. So basically I brought in the age band into the slicer visual. So, now what I'm trying to see is this the visual that I need to use in order to build out this particular report if I was using a slicer visual and combining it with the visual that we are looking at the bottom. Here we see that there are no interactions. So that means since there's no interactions, that means that the relationships is not there. When we looked over before and we went over to the model view, you didn't see, or you didn't pay attention because I didn't make it inherently clear, but the relationship between the age band that was created in the measure and the dates that are in the clustered column, there's no relationship there. So when we bring in a visual, and we know that those visuals, and we're expecting for those visuals to interact with one another, i.e. what that really means is if we select a value in the visual, if we select a value in the slicer visual, and that visual is when we select the value in the slicer visual, and then the clustered column chart visual is not interacting with it, which means that there are no changes, that means that there is not a relationship between those two visuals, which means the columns have no relationships. We'll talk about that more when we get into to creating models, but I'm just trying to help you to understand that you have to have relationships between two visuals in the model view in order for there to be interactions, expected interactions between the two visuals. Now, what I just did here was I brought in we're looking at the join date. Let me finish before I wanted it to. Let me pull that back up. So what we ended up getting here is we ended up using the join date. I don't want that to go there. So we ended up using the join date on the clustered column chart, which is at the bottom. We ended up using the dates for the join date at the bottom, and we ended up using the age band also that's inside the dim clustered, the dim customer table. What that allows us to do is all of the columns within a table, if the columns are already inside of a table, they have relationships, right? We know that those tables have a relationship. So those relationships are already created, and those were part of the relationships that were already built out in the model view. That's why now when you see the 35 to 44, and then we see that there has been some interaction between the clustered column chart and that slicer, that there's interaction going on. That means that there's movement. When we select something, when we select a value from the age band, that there's a value or values within the clustered column chart that are changing when we select different values. Those are called interactions. And when we have interactions, that means that the relationships are working. the measure that I showed you initially that was considered to be what I said to be a more advanced measure, that measure did not have a relationship within that had a relationship with a relationship that was built with the clustered column chart. So therefore, when we selected those age bands at that time, then there was no relationship. Now, we could have created a relationship. We'll talk about variables. We'll talk about building relationships in a little later in another module. But I just want to make it clear that in order for visualizations, two or more, to interact with one another, simply meaning that if you select a value from one visual and the other value changes and a value changes in the second visual, that there must be relationships created. And we'll talk about those relationships when we get into the model, building the model of the model view of the Power BI report. So that brings us to the conclusion of this particular. That brings us to the conclusion of this topic here on the clustered column chart. And as you see, building a clustered column chart is fairly simple. It's a matter of dragging and dropping, just as most other visuals within a Power BI report is a matter of dragging and dropping. So if you can drag and drop, you can build a Power BI report. Now, what I also want to do, again, is emphasize, if you like this video, I want you to like this video, subscribe to this channel. Like this video, subscribe to this channel. Also, please note that I have a weekly webinar. And all you have to do is comment WEBINAR. All you have to do is comment webinar, and I will get you into our weekly newsletter that will inform you of when the next webinar is going to be. The webinar is free, okay? So there's a couple of things you could be getting. You could be getting a lot of good information, a lot of good free information that I am providing out here. One is our weekly webinar. Typically the webinars on Thursday. We have had to make changes a couple of times, and the webinar may have been some other day of the week. But typically the webinars are on Thursday from 7:30 to 9 o'clock p.m. 7:30 p.m. to 9 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Now, again, things happen, things change, just like as in your life, my life, things change. The webinar is a live webinar, so if things have to happen, have to change, things just have to change. But what I'm encouraging you to do is join our weekly newsletter. And stay up to date on our weekly webinars. All you have to do, again, is comment webinar, WEBINAR, comment webinar, WEBINAR, and we will get you in on the weekly newsletter so that you will know when the next webinar is going to be. Webinars are totally free. Other thing is, the videos I have videos out there on YouTube or out here on YouTube, depending on where you are logging in from right now. Some of you guys are on TikTok, some of you guys are on Twitter, some of you guys are on Instagram, some of you guys are on Facebook. At the end of the day, I have tons of free videos that are out there. I've got tons of free videos that are out there, whole videos that are out there on YouTube. Go out there and check them out. Now, if you just like to learn real quick, of course, again, as you see, we've got clips. So, you'll be able to grab some of the information from Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, wherever you get your short clips from. We've got the information out there for you for real quick as well. Now, I say we because when I say we, I've got myself and I've got a couple of the individuals that I work with that help me come up with ideas to provide to you so that you will get the most you can out of whatever platform you're interested in receiving that information. But understand that this information is free. So I want you to take full advantage of getting this information that's going to be out here on YouTube, full videos out here to learn how to create Power BI reports. If you have any information, just leave me a comment or a message or whatever your platform is. And, I guarantee I'll get back with you. Now, I can't say that I'll get back with you immediately because there's a lot going on and I don't see everything that happens all the time, all of a sudden. But what I will say is if you're on that weekly webinar call, if you're out there on that weekly webinar, you've got direct access to me right then, right there. Hour and a half a week, 7:30 p.m. to 9 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Anyway, that has been our video on clustered column charts. Thank you for joining in, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next video.